Okay, I made myself a list for today. Well, first thing is that I'm putting in my fuel system here, and you can see here I have over there on the fuel tank. Now it comes out of there, goes into the solenoid, and hits the bigger fuel line. That fuel line then hooks into here, which is this little homemade elbow. That's going to go into the fuel pump with this direction. Comes around, and here's another little homemade elbow that doesn't hit anything, which is good. That took me a while to get that. Then it comes into the fuel pressure regulator. If you look at the direction flow is this way, in and out. Then it comes out of here. What I'm trying to do is I need to get an elbow. I believe that's a 1/8 NPT, so I need a 1/8 NPT elbow. It's going to come right up into this, and that's going to go into there. So so my brackets here are really nice and strong. I use these big fat bolts that I had left over from buying an extra, I bought 2 mount kits for the running boards, not realizing that 1 mount kit has enough for 2 running boards, so I had extra bolts and a couple extra bumper bolt kits. So anyway, my plan for today is this. Steering coupler lock plate. Basically there's something that goes right here, so I'm gonna put that in. I'm not exactly sure what it locks or how it locks it, but it goes around it's a U that goes around the other clamp. I'm gonna just dimple lock these 2 nuts. So I have wires on 2 of them. I have lock washers on them, and I put in thread lock on here, but I could not get wires into 2 of these bolts. So what I'm gonna do is just do a little dimple lock, which is you take a little one of those little things that you hammer in, just a little dimple. I just want, I'm going to put the gas tank on top of this, and I want peace of mind that that steering is not coming undone, and I can't get the wire through. I actually tried to drill a hole for a cotter pin or one of these wires through this, and these bolts are so freaking hard. I broke like 3 drill bits trying to get through that, and I couldn't get through it at all. So this was interesting. I got I have kind of this braided line, and then I have the bigger rubber line, which is what's needed for the fuel pump and the various barb sizes. And so I got 2 different hard fuel lines so that I could kind of fabricate my own little routing. This is a really tight space here, so in order to get out of the fuel tank through the solenoid, missing the tunnel there, into the front part of the fuel pump, coming out and then going back through a fuel pressure regulator, and then coming back into here where this is pointed kind of towards the driver's side. It was just looks like this. It's just a really tight space to be working in here. Since the master cylinder is on the driver's side, I just basically claimed the entire passenger side of this front area to just be the fuel delivery system, that I have 3 little devices in there. So all right, but I have a full plan here where steering coupler, dimple lock, then I have a whole fuel system thing to just finish that up. Then I have the wiring of the, I tested out this is the seat, just to make sure that it didn't touch where I put the voltage regulator or the battery, and it seems to be fine. So the seat is obviously not yet recovered, but I just wanted to make sure the frame didn't hit. So I have some 12. I have 12 gauge wire. I know it says to use 10 gauge wire, but I didn't look that up until after I bought the 12 gauge wire. So I'm going to feed the 3 12 gauge wires through the battery grommet and a blue and a green wire. That's for my voltage regulator. Then boom, 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 boom. I have a full list of stuff here that I have to do. So let me go ahead and start with the steering coupler lock plate. All right, well, this is my steering coupler lock plate, and I guess it's just got the 2 tabs that are going to fold over onto the bolt. So I'll bend those out a little bit first, and I have I just have to make sure I miss the horn wire that I've already got in place, but hopefully this will be a piece of cake here. So I have this little tiny hammer here. Let's start with this side. Alright, so dimple locking, all I'm going to do is on these bolts here where I don't have the ability to do a what I want to do, which is you put a dimple right in the see, you put a little tiny dimple right here, and that's actually between the lock washer and there. But the fact that there's a little metal anomaly there, you'll be able to reopen the bolt. But look, once I get this thing on there, I just do not. And then this one, it doesn't have a I tried to drill a hole in this one through with a little tiny bit, but I'm just going to dimple lock this one as well. All right, well, you know, it has there's a bunch of this thread lock blue on those two as well that I couldn't get the wires through. Then they have lock washers on it, which some of the kits only have the lock washers, a nice strong lock washer. And then I have, I just, for the sake of safety, I just did this dimple lock. I just don't want to have to think that this is coming out undone. I should have just bought the right bolt kit, but because I didn't, I'm just doing a life hack. All right, that's good enough. so that's the first two things on my list, which was the lock plate and dimple locking the two bolts that I couldn't. So now my next step is to go acquire a 1/8 NPT fitting that's an elbow. I went to Lowe's yesterday and I could not find that, so that's annoying. But what it has to do is, basically, I need something like this to come out of the fuel pressure regulator. And I thought this was the right one, but this is not a 1/8, that's probably a 1/2. I was so excited when I found that, and it's not the right size. But anyway, it has to be this size. So this is what comes out of there, but then it's too close to the firewall, or not firewall, just the wall. So what I need is an elbow for this to come up and out, and then I can even point it a little bit towards the center of the car, like this. So if I can just find a male to female 1/8 NPT elbow, I will be in business. So, time to go to Home Depot. I'm gonna take the dog. All right, psyched about this. So I should be able to take this, come out of the fuel pressure regulator, and then put this guy on there, and then that goes into the big hose. So let me get some thread tape and put this sucker on. All right, so I have this guy here, and thread tape on there, and this just has to see. Let's see how if I can make one more turn. Let's see. It's even possible. Okay, that's gonna work out just great. So now, I think I can just attach it just as is. So this guy here, just going on there. Let's see if I have enough. Yeah, I think that's good. So, since I have so many hose clamps, so, and I need an angle at which I can close out this clamp. Okay. Great. So, I do have the other, let's see, maybe it's possible for me to just turn this a little bit more. And then turn it like this. Way it lies a little flatter. Perfect. And hopefully it doesn't interfere with the solenoid. So here's my setup then. Solenoid comes into here. I still have to connect that one, which then goes into the fuel pump. It goes there, then it goes a little loop-de-loop, comes through the fuel pressure regulator. Hopefully this elbow doesn't mess it up too much in terms of the pressure. What I'm then going to be looking for is, and I hooked up my fuel line here on the back, so what I'll be looking for is 3 pounds of pressure coming right here, and so that'll be very clear to me right from the outset. If the fuel pressure is 3 pounds, then it's going through the entire tunnel and this whole electric pump regulator solenoid thing with exactly the right pressure. So let me finish wiring this all up with the clamp. And the other thing, I got some 10 gauge wire for, at least for my 2 big connections here in the back. So that's my next step here, is to splice, and it's this wire right here. I have to splice that, and that then has to go through the firewall to my voltage regulator, and then it has to come back out and go to the one has to go onto the alternator, or not alternator, the generator, and then the other one has to go to the starter. So I'm going to do that. But first, I believe now that I have my steering done, I have all of these things clamped down and secured, and I have my master cylinder, everything there, and this is all wired up in terms of my brake lights. So everything in my area here is good. Only one last thing I was considering doing was actually putting some seam sealer. I don't know if this is necessary or not, but I was considering putting seam sealer just up in the crack there. So maybe I'll do that before, and then I'll install the fuel tank. All right, continuing on under this fuel tank. So basically I wound up putting seam sealer up under the crack there because it seemed like that crack was a little too big. I also put seam sealer under here where I had welded. It's not that pretty, but you're not going to be able to see it. And maybe it helps with some water splashing up under there. You can see the seam sealer right there. And then you can see it along here, and kind of just keeping water from splashing up in there. So, you know, that's pretty ugly. Here it is. I mean, that stuff is just nasty. But that means now I can basically install my fuel tank. And when I install the fuel tank, I got some seam sealer on there, so that doesn't look great, but it's going to be behind the fuel tank. So when I install the fuel tank, I should be able to reach up under through here and connect the solenoid. I put some electrical tape on here, and then once I get the solenoid and the fuel pump, then I'm going to try to keep these wires a little bit out of the way with a zip tie or something so they don't get cut by anything. But so I'll have to get, it looks like I got a little bit of seam sealer on my pipe fitting. Let me make sure nothing got inside. I'll get a paper towel here. So right here on this pipe fitting, where the inlet is for the fuel pump, I just want to make sure there is nothing inside of this. So let me just check it real quick. This is like cleaning an ear or something. I'm pretty sure nothing got in there, but just make sure. Okay. So the only thing that has to happen then is this hose here has to be cut to length and attached onto there. So let me go ahead and set the fuel tank in place. Let me find a good place to set this camera. How about right there? Let's see what happens. Alrighty. Get the headlight wires and turn signal wires out of the way. So that sets in there nicely. Now let's take a look underneath. So there's two things that have to happen. Number one is, I'm gonna make sure this solenoid doesn't hit anything, which it doesn't. So this wire, this cable, not cable, this, oh god, I'm getting seam sealer all over myself. This has to come into this one, right here. That should be easy enough. Whoops. I just have to cut this to length, get a clamp, and then get that onto there. Now that I have seam sealer all over everything, it's a nasty, nasty mess. But it'll dry eventually, as will this one. Get this crap out of here. So, and then I have the wires to hook up that solenoid. So I'm going to set the camera here, probably turn it off, and I'm going to try to wire this stuff up. Okay, a bit of a messy prospect in here because of the seam sealer, but I got the wiring done here, so you can see the solenoid is wired up, the fuel pump is wired up, and now I have this cut to length. So basically what I have to do here is, I get my clamp on there and spray this stuff on there so that it'll slide over, and then I'm going to try, let's see, I probably can't do this on camera, but I'm just going to put this hose on there, see what happens. Okay, let's see. Take a look. About 2 centimeters on in terms of the hose. So I should be able to clamp this down and make sure that the clamp is not on the side there so it doesn't rattle. So let me go ahead and screw that down. All right, so now I have this entire thing is now together. Meaning it comes in off of there, nothing touches the firewall. Has the elbow coming back out. This is the most interesting one, which is that little loop around. It has a little tiny bit of a crimp, but it's a really big fuel hose and it's not damaged in any way. So I think this is all gonna work great. The only thing I have to do now is just a couple zip ties to get that cable out of the way. All right, well, finally I've come to the time where I can install the fuel tank for good. And I have these, which are the originals, and then I have these, which are the ones that I bought. So you know what, these are thicker gauge metal, and these are thinner gauge, and so I actually like these better. So I'm going to go wire brush these off, and I'm going to use those. I don't know why they don't just make the same gauge metal, So let me go wire brush them. I'll be right back. All right, well, these look a little bit better. I could use the new ones. As far as the gauge of metal, you can just see the slight difference here in terms of the thickness. And let's see how this goes. Well, I had a problem. I got all of these in. This one's in, this one's in, and this one's in. This one could maybe be tightened down a little bit more, but it has the foam. And then I had a problem on this one. I don't know why, but I get about halfway in and there's paint in there. but why would it be so tough? I do not know. So that is the right time to pull this thing out. Just get this thing all the way through. Do not know why. Okay, that should be good. So, cleaned out threads, and the last bracket. Threads on this look good. That could have also been the issue, is junk on the threads, but all right, so now if we go around at this one, it's definitely clamped down pretty good. This one can probably stand another turn or two here. Just to see, there's, you know, put about 1/3 of a centimeter in terms of the squishing down that foam. Okay, that's probably good. Then here, I mean, this one seems thoroughly squished. Yeah, that's tight. Tight. All right, fuel tank is in. Yeah, so it smells like the sealer. And then what I could do here is try to, you know, this thing, it should just pop out. Let's see if I can pop this thing out. Here we go. So that, then, I should be able to take this one, put that in there, and then, actually, what we're gonna do, take this little bally, stick it in the middle, take that, pop that in place here. That should be completely empty, of course. And that's popped into place. Let's see if it's empty. Then I wouldn't have to adjust it. Nope. Quarter tank with nothing in it. So, whoops. That means I have to adjust the little screw until it says empty. That little screw up there. So let's see, I've got another couple minutes here before I have to go, but maybe I can actually get this adjusted. Need a Phillips head. Of measuring. Just want to hold that there. And let's just take one quick more last look here. That is a completely empty tank. And this thing reads completely empty. But I think it can actually go further to the left, so I think that's good.